I have received a lot of requests for this fictional Japanese route, so I've been working on making some finishing touches to it. I even added a four-way railroad crossing. I don't know if crossings like this exist in real life in Japan, but we have a lot of these in America. Basically, we have a four-way intersection, and the railroad crosses it at a 45-degree angle. We do this when we don't want to build a bridge over the railroad because that would be too expensive. Here's an example of one in Pennsylvania. If Japan doesn't have crossings like this in real life, then consider this to be creative licensing. Anyway, one of the reasons why it was taking me so long to finish this route was because it was taking me a long time to lay down all the streets and place down all the buildings, but I recently discovered a copy and paste feature that allows you to do it a lot faster, so I've been getting to work basically building these cities up. Some of the roads I originally laid down are still there, but others were replaced to make way for the new city. I'm currently working on a drivable bus so that you can explore this route. It's taking a while though because the mesh originally comes from Google SketchUp and it was horribly inefficient. It had over 500,000 polygons. I've managed to shorten it to just 80,000 polygons, which is still a lot, but I'm still working on it. Once this route is finished, you'll actually be able to drive to this lighthouse. This lighthouse is also accessible by bus. At this junction, two of the lines break away and travel up the coastline where the rest of the lines service an elevated train station. And here we have a tram station that's sandwiched in between these two mainline tracks. The tracks on the outside are for mainly freight trains. Here's the entrance to the train station, which is also accessible by bus. Over here is where a brand new railroad crossing will go to connect the two sides of the town. And a few other railroad crossings are going to go here. To the right is a Shinkansen line I'm still working on. Now, one problem that I've come across when building these cities is that the game doesn't like how many buildings I'm placing down. It's actually causing the computer to scream at me right now, just displaying these buildings where they are. A lot of the skyscrapers in this game take up a lot of polygons, and none of them have a load mesh system. That means that even though these skyscrapers are really far away, the game is still trying to load the high detail version of the mesh. And it is wasting a lot of processing power on this game. At one point, the game was having so much trouble trying to run these skyscrapers that it actually shut down. By the way, these intersections are based on a random intersection in Tokyo. Of course, the building placement is different, but the specific alignment of the intersections and the pavement markings are in fact based on these intersections. After the game crashed, I started thinking to myself, someone needs to make some skyscrapers for this game that have a high detail and a low detail mesh so that when they're far away, the game doesn't have to load the high detail version. No one has made any skyscrapers in this game for a while now, so I figured to myself, I guess I have to make them. And that's what led me to design this. This is the first in a series of fictional skyscrapers I'm working on, called the Lighthouse. It is a lighthouse-themed hotel and restaurant with a 5-star restaurant on the top floor and an observation deck that gives you a great view of the city. On the top is a solar panel to power the lens. The hotel is 300 stories tall and over 1,100 meters in height. I designed this skyscraper to be extremely efficient. The high detailed mesh only takes up 1,000 polygons, and the low detailed mesh takes up less than 500. The camera actually doesn't go high enough for us to see the top of the skyscraper, so we're in a drivable floating camera that will take us all the way to the top floor. On the top floor is a 5-star restaurant that allows a panoramic view of the city. Just above the restaurant is an observation deck that allows you to look down towards the city streets. Above that is another observation deck that allows you to go outside. And if you think that sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen, don't worry, we have signs warning you about the wind. There's also a lantern room that you can visit that has a lens inside it that turns on at night. And here's a picture of the lens at night. Since this is a lighthouse, you should only need one of these in any given area, but let's say you wanted to pull a Starbucks and have multiple of them in the exact same spot. Well, this is a stress test to see how many of these I can place down before my computer turns into a jumbo jet running at full throttle getting ready to take off from the runway. Interestingly, when I move the camera, the computer gets really loud, but when I stop moving the camera, the fans immediately calm down. And right now, from this angle, the fans don't really seem to care that much. They're not really spinning at a high speed. Right now, I have 20 of these down. This means that you can have quite a lot of these placed on the ground before the game actually starts to care. Even with 20 of these down, the game doesn't really seem to be affected that much. I can move the camera pretty easily without any frame rate drops, which was the goal. The lens has a daytime and nighttime animation. In this video, I sped up the day and night cycle so that you could see each animation. The skyscrapers I make for this game are designed to be reskin friendly. That means if you wanted to clone it and make your own reskinned version of it, you can do that. And you can even upload the reskins to the download station. To reskin it, simply open the skyscraper you just cloned for editing and then open it in Explorer. Then simply edit the textures. I don't recommend editing the normal or parameter textures because those textures control basically how metallic this texture is and where the indents are. The albedo textures are the only ones I would recommend editing. I would also recommend that you change the name to match the color that you're repainting it to. The texture that's called base is the one I use to texture the entrance and the floor directly above it of this skyscraper. The one called base 2 textures the rest of the first two floors on the other three sides of the skyscraper. To reskin it, simply choose the color you want and then just paint over the original. You can use the fill feature to paint all of one specific color in the texture to a different color. However, as you can see, it doesn't always work, and I have no idea how it decides when it works and when it doesn't, because I don't know how this app works. The texture called Base 2 colors the sides of the skyscraper on the first two floors, basically anywhere where the door is not located. And these textures also color the exits on the top of the structure. As you might have guessed, the texture called Lantern textures everything in the lantern room of the lighthouse. As far as the lens is concerned, the picture on the left is what the lens looks like during the day, and the picture on the right is what it looks like at night. The red and gray stripes you see on the top left of the texture color various portions of the lantern room. The red colors the roof and the gray colors the railings. The texture called red stripe is the one that colors the red stripes on the structure. This texture actually textures in 50 floor intervals, so each texture will texture 50 stories of the structure at a time. I recommend using a bright texture so that it can contrast against the dark colors of the windows. However, if you want to use a dark color, there's always the option of changing the colors of the windows too, though that would take a lot longer. The texture called white stripe textures the white stripes of the structure. Just like the other texture, this one colors the structure in 50-story intervals. I actually don't want to change this one for this particular reskin, but if you wanted to, that's where that texture would be located. Before uploading your reskin to the download station, I recommend taking a picture of it and using that as a thumbnail so that when people look it up in the download station, they can tell what the reskin will look like before they download it. I've seen so many reskins on the download station where the person just uses the original thumbnail and it makes it harder to tell what the reskin will look like. When resizing the image, the game will allow a file size of up to 512 by 384. But of course, the picture can be smaller if you need it to be. Next, simply paste the thumbnail here and rename it to thumbnail.png. Now here's what it'll appear as on the download station when someone looks it up. Right now we're looking at the high detail version of the mesh, but as we zoom out, it'll display the low detail version of the mesh in order to save up space on the hard drive. Now you see it's only counting about 500 triangles. That was the main goal of building the skyscraper. I'm going to build more skyscrapers for this game that are just like this in order to take up less space on the hard drive when trying to build a city. And that should allow me to finish this route that I'm working on.